Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, what I wanted to do in this is, as a follow-up to the installation and setup for the digital cluster, I wanted to do my thoughts on it, or at least my initial thoughts on it. I've had the cluster in there for about 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks today. I use it every day. I actually had a 600-mile round trip to do in it the other week. Which was mainly motorway driving, and yeah, it worked absolutely fine. No issues with it whatsoever. Okay, so is it worth it? Well, now there's a question I'm going to have to answer at the end of this video. As for installation, yeah, I appreciate that this version of it, you do need to slice two sections inside the dash cowl, so they're 100% not visible from the outside. They don't affect anything. Everything is still solid as it was, so it's not affected any rigidity in the binnacle area itself. And I can appreciate that a lot of people don't want to do that, and I know that was the biggest bugbear on the ID4 Motion one. As far as I'm aware, I believe you have to cut a lot more on that version as well. Whereas this, it's literally just those two little what look like blocks that stick down inside. Chop them off. Like I say, I got a multi-tool, oscillating tool, just about fits in with the steering wheel, and it just chopped them straight off. No issues whatsoever. I am told, and I have seen other models of a BMW range that have got these new clusters, where they've got basically the corners diagonally chopped off already on the screen. Now, if that happens to this screen, then that would negate the reason to chop anything out of the dash altogether. So I am keeping an eye on that one. I'm in contact with the suppliers, and we'll see what transpires. See if they can use the other screen on this version for the E89. Okay, so technical malfunction there. The camera decided to fall off the screen. Where was I? Oh yes, so that seems to be the biggest bugbear of a lot of people. They like the screen, they like the idea, but they don't particularly want to chop into their dash, and I totally 100% agree with that. I would have preferred not to as well, which I was hoping it was going to be one of its biggest selling points, is the fact that it is literally, you disconnect the old one, plug the new one in, screw it in, job done. But unfortunately it's turned out that it's not, because it's got the squared off corners. But like I said, we'll keep an eye on that. If there is an updated version, then I will let people know as best as I can. Okay, so what we got is, I've posted it on a few places now, and I've come up, well, some people have come up with a few questions, so bear with me a second and I'll try to answer a couple of them. Okay, so Alex has asked, will there be an update in the future for Apple CarPlay integration, and or will it work together with the Android screen? Simply put, no, that's not going to be a case. There is no input for a cable into this other than the factory cable in the first place. The other cable that comes with it, that's purely for updates, so there's no connection other than through the CAN bus system to the screen, and certainly not to one of the aftermarket Android screens. That's not something that's going to happen, unfortunately. Okay, do we do an E85 or E86 version? To the best of my knowledge, at this time, no. There is no E85 or E86 version of this digital cluster. Can you add more themes? Not at the moment. I know you can on the ID4 Motion, and I know they charge quite a bit of money for those, but currently there is no update. There are to be no theme updates that I'm aware of. Now, like I say, that cable that you plug in, the USB cable, that is for updating software. Now, if that became a thing in the future, then yes, that could be a way of doing it. Other than that, no, not at this time, unfortunately. Cost, and I've had a few people ask this. The cost on the website that I deal with, which is ACARNAVI, is $880 currently. And again, to go with that, have I got a link? Yes, there's a link. I put the link in with the original video, and I'll put a link in the description on this video as well. So my thoughts on it: I like it. It integrates really, really well. I've had 2 issues with it. One of which was a setup issue, which was my fault. Well, yeah, sort of my fault. And that is, and I mentioned this in the setup video as well, when you set up for the fuel tank size, so your fuel gauge is correct. Now, I followed the 0 to 60 websites video where he said he put in his main tank and had no sub tank. Now I checked up on that, and the information I could find was that it was a 55 litre main tank with no sub tank, so I did exactly the same. Now I had nothing but problems with that all the way through. It got to about 100 miles worth of fuel left according to the gauge, and then it would drop down to 40 miles, back up to 80, and it was all over the place. It took a little bit of sorting out, and following the advice from ACARNAVI, I put in what I did on the video, which is 26 main, 24 sub, and the mileage has now been stable since then. I'm not so much bothered about the mileage, because the mileage left to empty is all dependent on how you drive anyway. It's more the indication of the fuel tank, how full it is. That was going up and down with the amount of mileage left. Now that shouldn't have been doing that, but that's obviously because I put it in wrong, or I put the values in wrong, should I say. The other issue I've got, it's not really an issue as such, but some people may see it as such. These have all been put on coupes and saloons so far. The E90 version is available for the E93, but I have not seen any videos of anybody putting it on an E93. For the people who don't know, the E93 is the convertible 3 Series. So now it's gone into this. Obviously I wanted to test it in all sorts of weathers, roof up, roof down, etc. And I would like to have shown you today, but just as I've decided to come out and do this video, it's decided to rain. Great, hence my roof's up. Okay, so this is with the roof down. Now, what you can see there for reflection, and that's actually my eyesight view. I can't really see. You're seeing a lot. It's a lot brighter on the camera screen than it is in real life. You got a lot of white out on there. Most of that screen is very, very black, as it should be. So here we go. Obviously I've just managed to get the roof down, because the sun just came up just before I left position. I have been driving in the sunshine and in bright weather, and it's not been an issue until I was at one position. Now, it was worst case scenario. I was going slightly down a hill with the sunlight coming through in between the seats here, and it was just catching the screen absolutely 100% bang on for reflecting from there right into me. I could just make out the numbers, your miles per hour. But it was only for a few moments, and as soon as I'd gone sort of the bottom of the hill, going back up the other side, it was completely off the screen, and it wasn't an issue. That's the only time I've done it. Also, I've been driving it for 2 weeks. Most of the time I've had the roof down. I'd say 50% of the time it's been sunny when I've been doing that as well, and it's not been an issue at all. It's a matte finish screen anyway, so it doesn't, the idea is it doesn't reflect. You will see light, and I know that the camera in the setup part of the video did show a lot of light reflection on the right hand side of the screen. That was more, the camera picks it up more than it actually is. I mean, if I turn sideways now, there's a bit of light on the side of the screen and I can see it, but it doesn't mean I can't see the indications behind it. I can see everything fine. Right, the one thing I wanted to make sure was so that things like the Sport Plus buttons show up, and they do. I showed that again in the main video. That was one worry that I had prior to having the screen in. Cruise control was another. Again, that works absolutely fine. No issues with that. In fact, it's better actually on here than it is on the with your standard screen. You set your cruise, it comes up in the center in a little semicircle arc, and your indication goes up the side with the green LED where it is. With this one, rather than having that indication on the side, you've got your numbers there all the time that it's set. So your numbers are the miles per hour that it's, or kilometers per hour that it's actually set to. And I like that little feature on the side. I know you can say, yeah, but the LED shows it on the edge as well. The LED only shows it to within what that position of that LED actually is, whereas this actually shows it to the exact miles per hour that you've set it to. Another question I had was whether we could, if it came to it, let's say for instance you want to change your car, you love your cluster, you love your nice new cluster, but you want to change your car. Now, again, from the 0 to 60 video, it does say in there that the ID4 motion cluster is VIN locked after a while to the car, the same as a standard cluster is VIN locked to your car. Now, with a standard cluster, it can be reset and redone with a bit of specialist equipment. It gets around that and it resets the VIN number so you can swap it between another vehicle. With this version, it's not VIN locked at all, which means that so long as you keep the original set of clocks, original cluster, and if you want to change this to, let's say, another vehicle, then you can take this out, put in your old set, your old cluster set, and it will then drag the odometer reading, your mileage reading, back off the CAS module, which is in the car, and then it'll set up and it'll carry on just the same as it was. You'll never know any difference. If you just put in any old set of clocks, it would still, if a new set of clocks was lower mileage than your current vehicle, it would pick up your current vehicle's mileage and would carry on working, theoretically. There are some issues with that there, but you'd have a tamper dot on it. Using your original set of clocks, it'll just put the mileage back up to what it should be, and there will be no tamper dot, and you'll be fine. No one would ever know any difference when you change your clocks. Then you can put the new digital set into your new car, and it'll pick up the mileage from there and will carry on. Another issue regarding mileage, I didn't really explain it that well in the setup video. When I put this digital cluster in, it picked up the mileage but didn't quite pick it up accurately. Now I said that in there that I think I made it sound more like that it's temperamental and can change the mileage. No, that's not what I meant. I think I said it wrong really. It's just it doesn't pick up on the mileage properly always initially. So you can set your mileage correctly, because that's what you will have taken your photograph of before you took your old clocks out. You can set up your odometer reading, and then from that point onwards, like I said, on mine it no longer shows up. So I'm assuming once it's set up and correct, then it's happy and doesn't show you that option again. But if you change it to another car, then it should then automatically change it back over. And that's really about it. Like I say, everything is stable on the car. I'm very happy with it. I am now that the fuel gauge issue was sorted out anyway. But would I recommend it? Yes, I do recommend it. It is a bit of a Marmite thing though. And for people who don't know what Marmite is, It's, you either like it or you don't like it. Now, I know some people are going to say, but I like my traditional clocks. I like my traditional style of clock and everything else. Fine. Totally agree. Totally understand that. I know it was sort of put to me that they like the mechanical version clock. The issue there is the originals are not mechanical. They are electronically controlled, should I say. There is no physical connection other than wires. So all this is done, this is just picking up that same signal that the original clocks were picking up in the first place, which is what allows you to have a digital set of clocks. But I do get it. People do like the original look, and I totally agree with that. I like the original look. But I've got to admit, I do quite like this, and I am going on this comfort mode screen as well, because I can actually quite like it. But again, at least you've got 5 options in there, and you've got some colour options as well. So yeah, it's going to be a personal preference thing as to whether you really like it or not, and whether you want to go for that expense. $880 is quite a bit of money, and I don't understand that, because it doesn't it doesn't do much more than what a standard set of clocks do, and I do get that. It is nicer. You've got or you can have your coolant temperature on there, your oil temperature on there, rather than just a gauge. It's an actual number. It's nice also actually to have the battery voltage on there as well, and it's some other ones that can also be got on there as well. And I got to admit, they are quite interesting to have there all the time, and I quite like to see them on there. The only issue I've got is my eyesight is not perfect these days, which is why I wear reading glasses. And if I'm in sport mode, which I'm currently in, when I'm driving along, I can't always necessarily see the figures when they're in the dark red. Now, if I just flick it back to the orange for comfort mode, that orange shows up a lot better. So to me, that is a little niggle. Could have probably done with being a bit more bolder on the red, but it's just a little niggle. The important things there was knowing how much fuel you got, knowing your oil temperature, and of course your mileage, your speed that you're driving at. Okay, so to update the screen, this is the cable that unfortunately I didn't have when I did the initial installation on it, and so I didn't show it in the first video. The USB end goes through that little hole there. This is accessed from the side panel. Push it through, 2 hands, pull it, and there's quite a lot of cable here actually. To be fair, it could go anywhere, but I think that's a fairly easy, straightforward access point to gain it when you do need it. You're not going to need it very often. Then on the back of the screen, just plug the blue plug into the blue socket, and then put everything back together. Okay, so find where you've loaded the 2 zip files onto your computer. Go to dashboard.zip, copy that, go to a blank USB drive, memory stick, and paste it in there. Let it load up, and when it's loaded up, leave it as a zip file, eject the memory stick, and then load that file onto the cluster. Plug it in to the USB port, put your key in, and then the update should start. Wait for the screen to start up, and there we go. So that's your update. So this is update number 1. It's fairly fast. Sorry, it's slightly out of focus here. It's fairly fast at updating. And once it's done, here we go. That's it. Update complete. Reboots the screen, and the screen opens up. Okay. So now, turn off the car again, and let it shut down completely. That's taking the key out completely. Wait for it to fully shut down. Then remove your memory stick, Once you've finished with that, put the memory stick back into the computer, delete off dashboard.zip, go back to your original file location, copy dashboard brackets 1.zip and paste that onto the memory stick. Again, eject it and then load that onto the computer. And put second update onto the same stick if you want. I happen to have two at the same time. Plug that in and then put your key in. And again, then this will open up and we'll do the second update exactly the same as the first one. Right, so that's all now done. 2 updates and it's rebooted. So we have a car image in the center of the screen. So go across to System Settings, down to Factory, and you want your code as 0168. Go back into it just the same way as we did on the previous setup. So it's press and hold, etc. And go through to the OK button, press OK, and then into the advanced settings. Okay, so now down to vehicle type. We now have a few different options here. So we've got F10, X5, X6, X1 and Z4. So this is the Z4 one that we want. Now I did this, I'd forgotten about the other option there, but we'll go back into that in a second. So go up rather to general setup, and you can go down to colour and you can change the colour of the car. So we've got red, black, white, blue, space grey. And my car is space grey, so we'll go with space grey. Down to return, press and hold, then down to return again and press and hold. And here we go, we've got a G29 Z4. Now, G29 is currently the only model for the Z4 that we can have on the screen. Okay, so we go back into factory, 0168. And OK. Now we're going to go down to the model option here. Now, so this is slightly different from before. So, oh, missed it. Back up. There we go. Right. So E87 gives you full screen. F gives you the F version slightly narrowed, and E gives you the slightly narrowed version as well. So they are your options. So now the current E and F are different to the original E and F as of their narrowed versions. The E87 is the expanded that version that is the same as what you had before. Okay, so following the 2 updates, we'll put the key in, and this is what we get. You've got the BMW logo on startup. Very, very briefly, you've now got the car image there, which, as I say, it is unfortunately a G29, not an E89. So I'm going to have another word with the suppliers and make sure we get the correct image, because it's a bit pointless having a G29 on there. So the updates also give you door open information, just like that. And we will try a boot open information as well. It only stays on for a few seconds. What happens when you shut the door? Nothing, it goes back to that. So let's try a boot open information and see if that comes up as well. Bear with me, sorry about the wobbly picture there. Just be back in a second. Okay, so yeah, we do have boot open as well. So let's bring that up as well. Excellent, so there we go, that's the update. So yeah, so that's it really. I'm happy with it all round, and I will be giving a review in about 2 months' time. I'm going to keep running it and see how we go. Like I said, this is my daily driver, so I use this all the time, and we'll see how well it performs. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.